Hi. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I have a mustache. Are you having a baby shark fly? I want to have a piggyback ride. Like that, I wanted to do it to my room.
Where do you want to go?
To downstairs.
Alrighty. We'll be right back. Recording? It is recording. Okay. Right. One more time. With some water. Right. Okay. Stay stuck at home. Some days are good. Some days are not so good. It's very different for all of us. As much as it is really tough, I'm still trying to stay productive and do something with my time throughout those crazy times. And I thought it would be really a great idea to try to do something useful for others. For a lot of us, it's a great time to learn a new skill. And I thought if I could make a short video about the main principles, how to take a great image, a lot of people could really benefit from this. I think skill of taking decent images is really handy now, so you can document this time of your family, take photos of your partners, of your kids, and also for your business, because all the businesses will really need the new content once this whole thing is over. Having just this little tool right here can really produce some great images. Hello, Lily. It's rolling now.
Oh.
Now it's for real. Not like before. So in this video I will share 3 main things how to take a great image: light, composition and moment. Those are the 3 key things I'm always looking before I take a photo. And I thought I can share this with you guys so you can also take some better photos. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. The very first thing I always look for, something what I'm really passionate about, is the light. This is the key element in order to get a great photo.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Okay, so when you look at all those amazing images and you scratch your head, how did those guys get those beautiful photos? One of the main factors was that the subject was in a great light. All the people who do have any experience in photography, they know that it's all about the light. So for example, my favorite time to shoot is sunset. I love that orange glow, that very specific feel of those photos when I get to use my favorite Canon 50 lens to create this epic lens flare, which I'm sure a lot of you know I'm a huge fan of. But obviously we don't get sunset all the time. So the second favorite type of light for me is the window light, which this is the advice I would like to give you. If you want to really take an awesome image, try to put your subject by the window light. It's one of the easiest places to find beautiful, very flattering light. Like here, I'm not using any additional light, this is just pure window light. But just make sure that you don't do that on a really super sunny day, because when the sun is really harsh, then that window light turns into something a little bit more difficult to work with. The shadows and highlights are quite harsh, and what we want is just a really beautiful soft look like here you can see now. So yeah, window light, go and check, give it a go. Just make sure that if you are using the window light, you are facing the light. You see that all the time when people take a photograph and they're facing that side, and obviously there is no light here, so make sure you face the window and that will do the trick. We found a great light, and now what we want to do, we want to make sure that we can create an interesting composition. Before we create the interesting composition, we want to make sure, tip number 2, that our subject, the head of our subject, is in a neutral spot. So what do I mean by that? You try to avoid taking photos of people behind very busy backdrops. Or if you do have a very busy backdrop, try to find the most peaceful part of this, clear wall, clear blue sky, to make those photos more organized and organic. I think this is one of the common mistakes of people who are just starting out with photography, or even those who've been doing this for a while, not paying attention what is behind the subject. Composition is absolutely crucial. Of course, in some photos where there is too much action happening, it's really hard to make that composition the way how we planned, because the moment is happening too fast or we're just not ready for it. but I always do my very best to make sure that the composition is as good as it can be in that particular moment. So the main tip I want to give you here today is that make sure that whoever you photograph, their upper body and especially their head is behind the clear backdrop. What do I mean by that? Is just try to really avoid busy, cluttered background behind the upper body. That will really allow to separate the background from the foreground and make the photo look really interesting. And of course, really avoid to get any kind of long poles sticking out of your subject's head. That really doesn't work. To follow up with this, another a little bit more advanced, the rule of thirds. Rule of thirds is something what has been used in photography and cinematography for a really long time. What it means is that we try to avoid to place our subject in the very center of the frame, but if you divide the image with two lines, horizontal and vertical, that will divide our image into 9 identical blocks. And if we place the subject slightly on the left into that one line or to the right, then that will open up the backdrop so much more. Where we are, what are we doing, and how our model and our backdrop, they tell a story together. So really try to do that, to play around and see how will that impact your photos. So we have a great light, we have a great composition, and now the final thing in order to create a great image, which is we need to wait for the right moment before we press the shutter. So we have two options for this. One, we can patiently wait for the moment to unfold in front of us. I refer to this as fishing. If I see something interesting and if I've got the composition and the light all right, waiting for the moment to happen, I try to wait for a minute or two, let's say if I'm at a wedding. If the moment doesn't unfold, I either try to help the moment to unfold if I really desperately want to get that image, or I just move away and come back to this place a little bit later. If you think about all those National Geographic photographers who took those incredible photos of all the wild animals, these guys, they have way more patience because they literally sit in a bush, in a mud, all day to wait for this one perfect image. And it's the same principle, we just don't wait that long. The second thing is what you can do if the moment is not unfolding, if you really need the moment to happen, is to interact, to get reaction of people. The easiest example is when I do group shots. This is something what I'm always trying to do fairly quick because I'm not a huge fan of doing group shots, but at the same time I know that my couples and their parents and their family, they really want them. So if I've got, let's say, all those 5 bridesmaids in front of me waiting with the flowers to take a photo, all I do is, as much as simple as this may sound, I've just asked them to fake laugh. Fake laugh like there is no tomorrow for a few seconds. I literally hold the shutter, take a bunch of images, and this is the easiest way to get cool, fun reaction, and all of those photos, they always come up amazing. And the next thing, you really have to make the most of your camera, and then if you do have a phone with 2 cameras, that means your phone has got an option of a portrait mode, where the technology is imitating the effect of those bad boy lenses, where you can create beautiful background blur to separate your subject from the background and add this really cool depth of field into your images. I have to say the technology has moved on forward so much, and that portrait mode in a lot of cases creates the images looking so good that you can easily compare them to the DSLR cameras and you wouldn't see the difference. So we have our photograph, and now the next thing we need to do is just to add a little bit of magic to it to make them stand out. I think all the photos, they need a little bit of editing, a little bit of correction to really make the most out of them, and for that I use the app called Visco. I've just recently made a video about my favorite editing apps for iPhone. If you haven't seen it, have a look. There is loads of really cool apps there to improve your iPhoneography. But today in this clip I'm only going to explain Visco, and I will go step by step how I edit my photo from start to finish, so you can see exactly what I do, and hopefully that will help you to edit your photos better. Okay, now we're good to go, let's start editing. Okay, so I've got a bunch of photos uploaded here into my Visco app. We'll start with the photo of Jackson, one of my kids.
As you can see, there is a variety of loads of paid presets. We will stick with C1, which is a really cool free preset included in VSCO app. The first thing what we will do is we will correct the temperature. The photo is looking a little bit cold, so we will just add a bit of warmth to it by sliding the temperature up to about 3. You can see before and after there is already a massive difference. That's a really good thing to do with your photographs, just to warm them up a little bit. The next thing, we will sharpen the image just to make sure it's looking nice and crisp. I normally do it around 3. The next thing what we will change is, I love the grain in the photos, just to add them a bit of that film look. Try not to go over the top with this if you don't want the photos to look too vintagey. Normally around 3 is just fine. Skin tone is a really cool tool if your photos do look a bit too green or too pink, just to bring them back to the neutral tone. Next, shadows. This is a really handy slider here to bring back a little bit of the dark tones. So if the blacks are a little bit too black, that could do the trick to fix it. Lastly, contrast is a great thing to play with. It adds a bit of a boost to the photo. And here we are, before and after. This looks great as it is. Let's save it and move on to the next image. Now we will edit a photo of those beautiful coffee pots. We will use the same preset, C1, but this time we will reduce opacity to around 8, as this photo is quite contrasty. We will add just a touch of temperature to increase the warmth. Then we will bring back the shadows, as the dark pots are quite black. Then the next step, we will obviously do the sharpening around 3 again, a bit of grain around 3, and you can see before and after here. Very quick edit, we can save it and then move on to the next image. As you can see, I do apply the same things to the most of the images. So now, to make things easier, what we will do, we will copy those edits and then paste them to the next photo. That is the fastest way to apply the same settings, and also at the same time it will give you a nice consistency in your editing. So let's have a look. So here we have a quick before and after using exactly the same settings as in the previous image. I really like my images to be quite warm, so I will just add a little bit more of temperature just to add an extra warmth in this photo. And then the next thing what I will do is also check the shadows just to bring back that a tiny bit. And that will do for me. Let's save it and move on to the next photo. Okay, and now we will do exactly the same thing. We will paste the edits to our last image and we will continue editing here. Now, the first, we will check the contrast to add just a little bit more punch to the photo. We can see the image got a little bit brighter, so we're gonna get the exposure a little bit down to even this up. Next, shadows slightly up to minimize the blacks in the image. Touch of contrast update. Also here a little crop update just to get a nice frame to reduce that window on the left hand side. Now just a quick white balance correction to make sure it's looking nice and warm. Maybe just a little bit of sharpness update as the harsh light made the image a little bit soft. Here are our before and after, and that is the final result. Let's hit save.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. All editing is done. The photos look really cool. I love the final effects.
As you can see, you really don't need a big camera to get some great results.
I really hope you found this video useful and you get something out of it. I would love to make more that kind of videos with some really valuable content to help people to improve their photography. So if there is anything else you think I could talk about, just drop me a message or comment below and I'll do my best to make more of those videos. Okay, thanks again for watching. Over and out. TD! Lily,
Yeah, okay.
what do you think about this photo of you?
For what?
What do you think about this photo of you?
What do you mean?
Do you like it?
Do you want to post it on social media?
Maybe.
Why?
Why are you zooming in?
Just making sure you didn't rub out my freckles.
Are they still there?
Yes, they are.
Do you like this image?
What for?
Just, do you think it's a good image? No.
Why?
This is not a tricky question. I just want to know if you like this image. Oh no.
Okay.
You do?
Not the best photo.
Not the best photo, but it's
okay.
okay.
There are better photos.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Over and out.